even when the stronghold is daunting. So look now, Joshua chapter 6, verse 1, as we begin. Now Jericho was tightly shut. I mean, how tight can we get it? Bring me another lock, tie it up again. Jericho was tightly shut because of the sons of Israel. To say it another way, no one went out, no one came in. Now think about that. This is what isn't happening. There is no movement. And that's where we intersect and overlay it onto our lives. Some of us are sitting in things we might call a stronghold. There is no movement. We're stuck. It's tight. Nothing's going out, nothing's coming in. For a quick geography memory jog as we survey God's strategy for the conquest of Canaan, map on the screen, you'll remember that they had been camped out at Gilgal, and we talked about the Gilgal trifecta. This is going back in your memory banks a little bit, right? But three amazing lessons, the trifecta from Gilgal. Who's got them? 1, 2, 3. Circumcision. Ouch, yes. Stones of remembrance. The Passover, right? All these things that God wanted them to recall, these points of reminder that happened to them in Gilgal, crossing the Jordan, outside of a fortified city, in the open, probably not the best time to pause and consider all of those things. And yet God camped them out there, just about 2 miles north and east of Jericho, where they would see the hill ascending to Jericho, where those tall walls stood. Ai, we'll talk about in a few weeks, another fortress stood on the top. But with the hill country captured, Israel would be able to divide and conquer. They would first go south, and then they would conquer north as they captured the area of Canaan. Jericho itself, however, not a super huge city. If you studied a little bit about that, sat on a parcel of land about 10 acres big. It wasn't so much the size of the city, it was the walls. Those were the issues. 2 of them faced the Israel army, each approximately 6 feet thick. So think of that, 12 in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that times 2 is the thickness of the wall that they would have to get through potentially. The height, somewhere around 30, 35 feet, and I mapped it out. Everybody wave at Steve back there. Steve, perfect timing. That's about 35 feet from where I am. That's how high those walls were, with a gap of 15 to 30 feet. And spoiler, we'll talk about week 3. You remember that Rahab's house was lodged in that outer perimeter. Again, a daunting scene set before them. And remember what it says, verse 1. It was all tightly shut. No one went out. No one came in. No movement. So the city seemed impregnable. The opportunity to take it seemed impossible. What do we know? We've been wandering the wilderness for 40 years. We haven't been to military school. There's not a general or armed person among us. We don't have that expertise. How can we conquer? But that's it. That's the optics, okay? That's what most of us get stuck in, the optics, what it looks like to us. That's where we live if all we live in is verse 1 living. Do you see that? We get stuck there. And we're prone to worry because we won't look beyond. And it overwhelmed them too. Another turn in your Bible. Love to hear the pages moving this morning. Keep your place in Joshua. Turn back to Numbers. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. 4th book of the Bible, chapter 13, verse 25. And it was these fortified cities like Jericho that had so intimidated 10 of those 12 spies that they said, nope, not going to happen. Maybe somebody else another day, another time, not us. So this is a flashback, 40 years, but it had stuck with so many of them, so many of us. Look at verse 25. Let me join you there. verse 25. When they returned from spying out the land, at the end of 40 days, they proceeded to come to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh. And they brought back word to them, all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. Hey, guys, it's great. Thus they told them and said, we went into the land where you sent us, and it certainly does flow with milk and honey. And this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who live in the land are strong, and their cities, like what city? Jericho, right? Like Jericho, are fortified and very large. And moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. Amalek is living in the land of Negev, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites are living in the hill country, and the Canaanites are living by the sea and by the side of the Jordan. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, we should by all means go up and take possession of it, for we will surely overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are too strong for us. So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land which we have gone and spying it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, a part of the Nephilim. We became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. World's tallest people on the screen, you can see some of them. Apparently, even in the last 2 weeks, it's been argued about who holds the title. No kidding. Truth is stranger than fiction. 9'6", apparently, is the world record holder. Now, those are some big people. They don't look like they're probably beating up a lot of other people. But if all you saw was a whole race of that, it'd be intimidating. Part of the zinger in Numbers 13 is a question. It's a great one for all of us. For me, I want it to be for you. Who do you listen to? Who are you listening to? Who's got your ear? Whose counsel are you receiving? Is it bathed and based in God's word? Is it the counsel of faith? Is it strong and courageous? I mean, don't let the odds fool you, right? 10 out of 12 said, we can't do this. Meaning, there are a lot of people who live south on the side of, no, God can. 2, I want that 2 to be multiplied. I want that to be my heart. I want that to be your heart. I don't know how we're going to do that. Yes, it looks intimidating. Yes, it's fortified. I see what you see. But I believe in an awesome God who isn't done working. He's not done working. Just tell someone next to you, he's not done working. He is not done working. Much more in the next 2 weeks. But verse 1 is not only a physical commentary, but a spiritual one. And I'd love for you to kind of break out of your backpack a gospel lens that you're going to look at this chapter in for the next 3 weeks. One snapshot from that gospel lens would remind us that these people had shut out God. They had made defenses. Maybe it was disbelief. It was discouragement in their life and their circumstances, their situation. I mean, any number of things can kind of get us spiraling downward, fueling doubt. But I wonder, do you wonder? I wondered why there weren't more Rahabs. She had heard. The news she had was 40 years old, but she believed. God's mercy found her, saved her, rescued her out of that tightly shut city. Wide is the gate. Narrow is the way to life. Big was that city. Few were the people who received the mercy of God. Why? Their hearts had melted. We know that. Why? Why didn't they respond? My question, loved ones, why won't you respond? Why is your heart tightly shut? Why are you building walls? Why won't you let him in or others in? Hey, mercy, God's mercy, let it find each of us. I do it, so I'm just going to be the first person to say, I do it. I doubt, I disbelieve, I get discouraged, and a wall goes up. I fortify it. I resist. But I would ask each one of us to listen to the work of God's Spirit in our midst over the next several weeks. There's some really good stuff, and there is some really hard stuff in chapter 6. But because I know in my own life, and I'm guessing in yours, there are walled obstructions to God's advance in your 2023. And I believe by faith he wants to bring those down. I believe he wants more victory for his glory and our good. Places or parts in our hearts that are tightly shut and lack the movement or traction he likes. I remember one time several years ago now, I was at a pastor's retreat. We were up in Canada at this place called Lake Mary, and the pastor, who was like the alpha pastor, you know what I'm talking about, like one of those guys, he took us all out on a boat. He knew the area, knew the lake, and he knew that there was a little island in the lake, and there was a cliff top about 30 feet up where it was going to be so fun. We're going to jump off the cliff into the water, and I thought it sounded fun too, and it looked cool, and I saw some other people do it, and until I got up there, right? And then, maybe it's just me, but you think in your head, I got this, right? But then you get there and you're like, felt like 10 minutes. Maybe it wasn't 10 minutes, but for like 10 minutes, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. So finally, I took the step. And I jumped, and I looked like a chicken with its head cut off going down. Somebody captured it on a phone to prove it to everybody how foolish I looked. I mean, hands waving, feet flailing, all of it. But I took a step. Some typical strongholds that we would leap off of and into the arms of the Lord might be a lot of obvious things for you. Here's my list. You can make your own. They're physical things, they're emotional things, they're spiritual things, they're relational things, they're character things. So my job is to help maybe tease